all sorts of stuff. Movies. What's up, Raul? What's up, everybody? I'm just trying to figure out how to punch these guys in. Hold on. Give me 1 second, figuring it out. Phone seems to be working a little slow, but I'll get it. I'll get it. Anyway, I think I see Luke. What's up, Billy? What's up, Cassius? Just waiting for Clara to request in so we can start this chat. What's up? What's up, Japan? Tom Schrader, that's right. We're going to be watching the Jordan documentary later tonight. Luke Rathborn was good. Luke Rathborn is a very talented creative who helped on the film. He's a great musician, writer, all that stuff. What's up, London? I got my coffee from, my name's Jimmy. I got my coffee from Starbucks because during this craziness, you can just order it on a phone and pick it up. You don't have to go in anywhere, you know? You don't gotta like put anybody at risk. Alright, let me see. I'm just checking the requests. Alright, just looking. 1 second. There we go. All right, we're starting again. We're starting again. Let's see.
Okay.
What's up, Clara?
Are we in now for reels now?
I think so. I just got to figure out how to flip my camera now.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see this all happening pretty well now.
Clara, how do I flip? Oh, there we go.
Oh, I wish I could
There
see.
we go.
Just ignore it.
Is that better? Oh, wait.
Okay.
Yeah, but you
I
just
put a little bit of tape over the button.
We'll
Is that better?
off that.
Yeah. How's it going?
All right,
So,
well,
yeah, go on. You were going to say, sorry.
Okay.
We were interrupted, Jimmy.
So no. So you and like when we were talking early on, I know Clara had told me stories about when you directed, and you gave me some advice early on, which helped me a great deal amount. And before we even get to the directing part, where you kind of told me, I was asking you what freedoms you liked as an actor, what helped you kind of get to the place you needed to get to on set more delicately. And I know something we talked about was blocking, when you said when an actor, and I've heard this from plenty of actors, when you feel the freedom to be able to kind of go where you naturally would go in the scene, instead of stand here, say these 5 words, take 3 steps that way, turn your head 10 degrees to the left, say another word. That becomes a little more mechanical, and it becomes more difficult to be believable and maneuver.
Yeah.
Can you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, because I'm not an actor, obviously. I don't really know much about that, but I realized that as soon as I gave that opportunity to the cast and the actors, everyone immediately understood. They're like, "Oh, thank you so much, thank you." Some people wanted to be told where to go, but it depends on the actor, obviously. But how do you see it?
The truth is, when you're developing a film and when you're directing a film and you're working with your designer and then your director of photography, of course, during that process, long before the actors arrive, you're imagining scenes. That's how you're able to choose the location, how you're able to choose the room in a house. Like, this scene is going to play well here, because you start seeing the scene. So you start coming up with an idea of how you see it. And of course, as a director, you should. It's your vision. It's your telling of a story. But of course, when the actors do arrive, then it becomes a collaboration. And I've just always found it very frustrating to be told, when if you walk on a set where the cameras are already set up and your marks are already on the floor, and if you haven't had a chance to rehearse the scene, then you're just making the director's framework. You're just sort of making that framework, as opposed to trying to create a moment in time with the other actors. And I've always felt that acting feels best when it feels like it's real, when it feels like a reality. And of course, when you're constricted, technically, that's part of it, because you're making a film. But if you have a freedom to rehearse the scene and find your way around it, find a chance to explore, it always feels better to me. And I always feel like the first when you've rehearsed like that, and then generally speaking, you rehearse and then you'll show it to the crew once you've found the scene together with the director and the actors. And when you show it to the crew, I feel like we're actors, we're performers, and so we sort of perform it for the crew, if you like, in that first showing of the scene. And then the scene lives in our imagination then, and we're able to, when you do come in to cut up for close-ups and break it up for this shot and that shot, you've got a memory of what the scene felt like when you played it through, and so you're able to tap back into that memory, and therefore you're always in the right place.
I find that really to be true.
Yeah, well, how do you feel, Clara? You've done this a bunch.
Little bit. Getting there. But,
we talked about this.
We've talked about it a lot, because I know that I've heard it from growing up, hearing you talk about it, and then starting to do it myself. It's that, you as an actor, you want the situation you're in with the other characters and the room and whatever that is. You want it to feel as real as possible. And the minute there's obviously there's going to be limits to what you can do, but the minute you can kind of have that dialogue with the director and have a bit more freedom before the marks go down on the ground, you're setting yourself in the room as you would naturally. And I think that sets the tone then for the acting and the dialogue that's going to follow, because you're really there how you would be. And I think that's how you want to act, is as you would be in reality, you know? So I think that helps. And that's something you did really well on the birthday cake. We always had rehearsals. We were always had the freedom, especially working with Sean Price Williams, the DP. He was constantly working around the actor by you know, almost dancing with us in the camera and getting everyone's shot in these one long takes, which just gave us the freedom. Like we could move anywhere we wanted, you know? And that was really cool. So that's what made it so fun. And, you know, there was a lot of stuff that came naturally that wasn't in the script because of that, you know?
Yeah. Nerve-wracking. I have to say, hats off to you as first-time film director. I know it's not the first thing you've shot, because you've shot lots of things for music before, but as a first-time film director, to have the courage to allow people to explore like that, because it's very scary to walk on set not knowing exactly what's going to happen. It's much easier for the director to know, okay, this is my shot list, these are my shots. The set, people are looking to you for all the answers.
Yeah.
You don't, if you might feel that you might not have them, these are things you can clutch onto. But in actual fact, to let them go, not fully. You always know that even having a shot list and deciding with your DP how you want to shoot a film, a scene, sets the tone in your mind for that scene, and you're never going to walk away from that. Not really, unless you suddenly have an epiphany on set where you realize it should be a different way or something.
Yeah.
Even if the shots don't remain the same, because the actors have decided, you know, it'd be nicer to play over here, or sitting down and not standing up, or whatever it be. It's a collaboration, you know. There's give and take on both sides, I guess. But it was very brave of you to have that, to allow yourself that freedom, you know.
And I think I always kind of saw that, you know, knowing you before you ever got into, you know, feature films, the way you shoot music videos or shoot little shorts with your friends, or the way we shot our little film and even our light test, which turned into a whole little horror movie of its own. You've always been so spontaneous, and you get there and you're like, we'll just figure it out, let's go. And you're really good at the people you work with, because they can deliver in situations like that, which I think is just so fun, you know. So often you would just go out with your camera and a couple of buddies and just go guerrilla style all over New York City, like shooting in the middle of huge intersections, pulling actors out of cars, you know. License. I mean, it was amazing. And you brought that into this very kind of bigger scale in the birthday.
It's kind of you know, for up and coming, for people who are younger and they want to make films. And I get when people like will DM me or something, or ask me a question through email or something, or if I run into somebody, you know, something that I didn't really understand early on, and I'm still learning as I go, is you think it's such a overbearing, there's so much you have to do, there's so many responsibilities. And I grew up I didn't go to film school. I didn't have the opportunities to kind of learn that stuff in like a classroom setting, or like in a way that basically I had to pay to do it. So you just kind of learn on your own, and then after a certain amount of time, you have to just kind of trust your instincts. And then something Raul, just get people who you believe in to work with you, and then you can be more instinctual. And as long as, you know, you understand, or you have all the information, the level playing field, you get everything, then you can just use your instincts, and then other people can help you execute. For example, like you and what you said, you're on set and you see it, but then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I want to shoot there. That looks so much better now. But you know that you have your AD, Cassius, who's watching. What's up, Cassius? He's over there saying, I think that's better too. Sure, regardless, but you only have 10 minutes to get this shot. So So at that moment, use your instincts, but also know the playing field and trust the people you're around. Trust casters, trust the actors, trust everybody. So then if you want to go on your instincts, there's still a responsibility to know the playing field, and you could be more guerrilla then, like being out in the street that one time with John Foster. I'm like, okay, John, we could get arrested. It's very possible, You're gonna run out of this bank. We're gonna time it through traffic. Someone's gonna pull you out of a car. Are you willing to do that today? That's the consequence. And most days you're like, no way, I'm not willing to do that. But some days I need to see what this looks like. I have to see how this looks, because this is such a big budget idea. We don't have any money, but we want to execute it. How would it look if we did this in real time and make it as, obviously you have to be safe, and we did as much as we could to execute that thing, but you work with what you got. But when you're making a movie, there's insurance, there's all these rules, there's all this stuff. So it's a little trickier. On that note, Ewan, let's talk about directing a film, because, when you were preparing for your film, American Pastoral, what surprised you the most while you were executing in post? Is there something that you kind of, because you're so used to being in front of the camera and on stage, when you went behind and saw the other side of it, is there what's the thing that you feel like stood out as a lesson, something you learned that maybe you can share?
Well, it was like being a grown-up for in a way. Like when you're behind the camera, it's sort of you're shielded. When you're in front of the camera, if you're just acting in something, sort of shielded from a lot of the politics, a lot of the problems, that we can't get this location because of this, or are we going to, all of the dramas and the politics, you're sort of shielded from, because it doesn't really do you much good to be involved in that. When you start producing, or in this case, directing as well, of course, you're right in the middle of it all. And so it was a relief for me. I felt like I sort of got to deal with people in a much more real way. And if there was an issue or problem or something, you have to be open about it. And then nobody was shielding you from it or protecting you from it. So I liked that a lot. I think what I learned the most from it was, that I carried a lot of fear and worry about it that I didn't need to. I've been doing it been working on film sets since I was 20 years old, and which is longer than I care to think about, but it's a long time. It's a lot of experience I've gathered, and I know just instinctively how it works best for me as an actor, how making scenes and creating stories, and therefore I would want to direct in that way, in that direction, and so that's just second nature. Whereas I sort of second guessed myself a lot of the time going into it. It's like, what if I fail? I suppose is always the biggest fear, isn't it? The fear of failure. Then I realized, well, somewhere along the line while I was doing it, that I didn't need to do that. You cast talented actors, you've got talented crew members, you've got heads of department that know much more about their department than you do, and therefore you just rely on their creative talent, and you lead with your gut, with your instinct, with your taste. It's really about taste ultimately. And I loved it. I found it to be really, really as creatively satisfying as I hoped it would be. I haven't had a chance to do it since then. I've done a commercial since then, but I haven't directed a feature film since then. And I just it costs so much, because you put so much of yourself into it. You carry this burden for 18 months or however long it is. I don't know how long it's been in your case, because you wrote this as well. I didn't write American Pastoral. But I carried that for, and right through to when the film was released for 18 months or something. And so it's costly, No, I don't mean financially. I mean, it's costly, and you're
absolutely emotionally and draining.
And so I don't know that I could. I just know I long to do it again. But I couldn't do it unless it was something that I had to make. I just couldn't do it just for the sake of it. I think I'd like to direct commercials for that, for practice, for fun, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But actual a feature film where you're going to invest your life for a couple of years or just less than a couple of years, it has to be something that you can't not make. You know what I mean?
I'd love to get into directing, and you know, co-producing this project along with you and Raul and such an amazing team of people was great. You know, I did study like film business, but it's a whole different thing when you're in it. And I was surprised myself in how kind of interested I was in how it was all happening. And, you know, just even listening in on your phone calls, you know, even if it was maybe stuff that I wasn't going to be very helpful for, you know, compared to the other stuff, like it was just so interesting. And then watching you kind of dive into this whole directing thing and having watched you do it and visited you on set. And I remember showing up to American Pastoral, and my dad was in his aged makeup, which was a trip. He looked like
my dad.
You looked like your dad. And then, you know, he was behind the camera and then hopping in front of it. And it was just so crazy and really cool. And I could see how, I could imagine how difficult that would have been. But, you know, both of you kind of did it in such a great way for your first time directing, you know. And
that was interesting because I found it to be easy towards the end of our shoot where I wasn't acting in the scenes at all. And then so I just turned up and I was just the director for those days. But I found it easier in actual fact when I was in the scenes because
interesting.
Finding the scenes with the other actor, you got thoughts about how you want it to be. You find it with the other actor, and then you're sort of guiding it from the inside of the scene, like from where it feels. And when it's right, you just feel it. You know it's right. I find that easy. I find that to be easier than in actual fact to be directing from behind the monitor, where you're not in it. Like it's much easier to discuss something with the actor and then go in the middle of the set and do it with them. You know, I really enjoyed that, and I was lucky, like you did. I had a great cast, so I had lovely actors to work with.
Clara, do you want to direct your dad at some point?
Yeah.
Or vice versa?
I mean, either way, that would be amazing. I'm dying to work.
I know. I want to
mean,
work with you too.
This was a great kind of first step in the sense that, you know, we're in the same movie and a movie that I co-produced and it's really, that's exciting. But I am also excited for us to have some scenes together and, you know, I always kind of have a bit of a dream of writing something with you and then directing it together and casting, you know, just doing it all ourselves and stuff. And, you know, my little sister Esther's an actor as well. So just kind of creating together would be kind of the ultimate dream, you know, to be able to do something like that. But, you know, I wrote that little script that Jimmy, you helped me on a lot. And, you know, we made that little movie. And so just, like creating and being in control of a narrative and what you're putting out there is really exciting, especially as an actor, because obviously you get so much excitement in receiving an amazing script, and I think there's equal excitement in a different way of when you're creating your script or working with, you know, collaborating with people to really create the narrative you want to put out there and having that control on how it comes out. And what's amazing about seeing you with the birthday cake is, you know, I remember sitting in the living room with you, I don't know even when, maybe a year or two ago, and you had this idea, and I'm sure it was bubbling up in there for a while, but I remember you bringing it up to me, and it was just an idea. It was, you know, a kind of modern day mob movie based in Brooklyn, and our landlord in Brooklyn is, you know, he's awesome, and it's just, there's a lot of inspiration, and so anyways.
Careful.
So anyway, just living in Brooklyn, there's a lot of inspiration in general. So it was really cool seeing you build from that and then get all these people involved and working with people you'd worked with in music and in film. And, you know, I think it's amazing because it was a project that really is a family and friend project in the sense that everyone came together and it was this really tight-knit group of people, but at the same time, everyone involved was involved because of the script you wrote, which was incredible. And then, you know, doing all of this after, and so happy to have been in it because the process was so incredible, and you made a great movie. So it was kind of the best of both worlds in many ways.
Well, thank you, Clara. It's definitely what you're saying is true. Like doing it with friends and family, it's so hard to make one of these things, and there's so much involved. But doing it with people that you like and people that you love and people that are like-minded and who will challenge you, who will be real with you, who will support you, all that stuff is, you know, you have the best opportunity to be in a situation like that when you're doing with people that you love. Yeah. And it takes a village, you know, like for me, I still don't understand. I understand how our movie was made, but for up and coming filmmakers, like I'm going to be honest, like if you're watching this, like there's never a clear moment. Still, it's not a clear moment now. It's like, it's because it's not done yet. Like there's never a moment where you're like, oh, we're doing this. I'm making this. This is good. We made a movie. It's still to this point. I'm like, this still isn't done. It's not made. And we already filmed. We're already in post. There's so many things. Every day there's like a new obstacle, and it's not like a quick obstacle. It's something that sometimes requires weeks to like resolve and like a lot of work, and it's constantly feeding this thing and playing to the ego of the film rather than playing to the ego or the project, whatever that project might be, than playing to the ego of yourself, because it's a collaboration and it takes a whole village, and like so you gotta like, you know, try to get your starting lineup to be people that you respect, you believe in, like-minded if you can. You know, mm-hmm. A lot of people say don't get into business with like, you know, friends and family and stuff like that. Sure, not blindly, of course not. But if it makes sense and you're all into the same thing, and then there's an understanding and everyone gets it, then those are the best people you can work with, you know? Yeah. Because if you're on that same tip, you know? Mm-hmm. So I know, Clara, you went and you filmed a short right after we did Birthday Cake. I think you did some of it before and some of it after. Yeah,
so I went and I shot Maestro, which was written and directed by my dear friend Ava Valenzuela. And so that was such a cool project in itself. And it's a short film, but it really felt really impactful for me, especially as an actor, because for the first time, it felt like it was clicking, and this was a pretty heavy script and a lot of emotional stuff, and I was really nervous going into it. And you know, I cry all the time in real life, but I had a hard time crying on camera, and all these little things, you know, that you just have to get used to, and you have to tap into certain things. You know, that's how I work anyways. I try to really tap into real emotions that fit the character and the scene, and it clicked, and the script felt amazing and nice to kind of have that to work with, because I'm really close with my dad, and so it's nice to have that kind of emulate in the script where they cover each other, and it's obviously a very different situation, but that was amazing to work with. And Ava is a force of a director and a brilliant writer, and it was just amazing. And you know, working with female directors, that's actually, I've only worked with female directors other than you, and you're amazing. So it's been really great. So
what's the name of that actor that played your father in Maestro? I know you're putting him on to me. You were telling me to check him out. And
yes, Karel Dobry. He's amazing. He's from the Czech Republic. He played my father, and he was he made my job easy, you know, as did the actors in the Birthday Cake. When you're acting with someone that good, it just brings it out of you, you know. It's so, oh my God, he's incredible. I'm really excited for people to discover him. And
when do we get to see that one?
That'll be out soon. We're in the final stages of editing. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited. And that one I've only seen little clips of, but I'm really proud of it all.
Yeah, I bet. So am I. Right.
And you were about to leave for a motorcycle trip right before you did our film, where you were going on the Harleys, and long way up?
Yes.
Yeah. How was that?
It was good, yeah.
How was that?
Very good, yeah. It was interesting. We did this third one on electric bikes, you know? Yeah. And we wanted to try and do that. I thought it was an interesting challenge, but also just the right thing to do, you know, in terms of the environment, and our belief that electric vehicles are probably going to take over in the future. And we worked with a company who put in some charging stations for us along the route that will remain there after we've done the trip. And so it was nice to leave a little legacy, a little for other travelers who might want to try and do it. It was challenging sometimes because there's vast distances without anywhere to charge your bike, so we had to get creative. But it was really fantastic. I really like it. They lend themselves to the kind of travel we do because they're quiet, and they're, Charlie and I could ride along and literally speak to each other.
That's wild.
There's no engine noise. It's less stressful than having that vibration of the mechanical engine. And when you're doing a tour, I mean, one thing I would say is we had to ride slowish just to extend the range. So we didn't get to ride along it. And some of the other trips we rode much quicker, And in a very long, straight, somewhat, when the landscape's not changing very much for day after day after day, to be riding along slowly was a bit of a challenge now and again, because those are the bits you would just normally burn through,
Yeah.
But I loved it, and I loved the Americas very, very much. I hadn't really explored South America very much at all. I'd been to Peru once with UNICEF on a UNICEF visit, and I shot a commercial once a long time ago in Brazil, and I just fell in love with Argentina, and I fell in love with Chile, and I loved lots of Central America. I just really loved the route very much. It was a really wonderful part of the world, like Patagonia, and I'd always dreamed of Patagonia, and didn't disappoint. I mean, it was cold, but it was beautiful and barren, and yeah, we met really nice people, as you always do when you're traveling like that,
Did you run into other electric bikes on the road, or is it pretty? No, it doesn't exist out there.
I think we did at an odd time of year. To be honest, we started in the south and rode up just because we've already done long way down, so we had to do long way up. We couldn't do long way down again. So just because the title of our documentary, we had to start in the south and ride north. Otherwise, we would just have ridden south, because that's what most people do. But so we met a lot of people coming the other way, and but mainly a lot of petrol bikes, and then we met this lovely father and son who were in a little old VW Beetle, and I'm a real VW nut, so I've got a great affection for those cars. And I saw this little Beetle up on the road ahead of us with a roof rack and some mud tires on the roof, and we caught up with them, and it was this father and his son who were doing this trip. He'd always wanted to do this trip. I think he'd done it with his wife, and they'd broken down, and he never got a chance to finish it. So his son and him are sort of completing this lovely trip north, and they were riding a famous highway through Argentina and Chile, which I can't remember the number of. But so we rode with them for a day or two, and it was nice, that kind of that camaraderie that you find on the road is something I love a lot.
How did you get into bikes?
How did I get into bikes?
Yeah.
Well, that's a long story, I suppose. My dad, when I was a kid, I was very young, my father, there was a show on television called Jim Will Fix It, where this guy sort of made kids' dreams come true, right, on television. So if you wanted to fly in an airplane or walk on a trapeze, or there was some famous kids that wanted to eat their packed lunch on a roller coaster. And so my dad was in a charity organization called the Round Table, and his name is Jim. And so he did a Jim Will Fix It for the year that he was chairman. And one little kid wanted to ride a motorbike, and I don't know how old I was, maybe a Nook's age, maybe like 8 or 9. And so I just went along with my dad because he was doing this thing, and they went to this field outside of Crieff, where I'm from, and there was this little guy who got to ride on this motorbike, a little Honda 50cc bike around the field. And when it was all done and dusted, I thought, I want to go, So I got on this bike, and I just remember that doing this with my wrist, and it went faster, and I never got over that thrill to this day. I really like it. So I just love it, and I still love it very much. I've done these amazing trips, so the motorcycles have sort of allowed me to experience, amazing things in the world and meet incredible people. And just sort of, or yeah, I just love it. I like being on that road when you're traveling and you're only traveling tomorrow and the next day and the next day. There's something
Sure.
about it.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I've seen you pull up in a couple bikes, you know. I know you got a love for those, and you're always working on them, and
Yeah.
I don't understand any of that stuff, but I love it. It's great, you know.
Yeah, I like them very much to look at. I think they're beautiful sort of, to me they're like art, but they're also just
Sure.
I had my time on racetracks in the past, but it's not really me. I just like to use them to get from A to B. I just love them. I like watching them race, yeah. But I just, that's a whole other talent that I don't have.
So, okay, Clara, really quick. I don't want to keep you guys so long, but I know when we shot your scenes, we were shooting with Shiloh, our lead, Ashley Benson, and Jeremy Allen White, and I know you were excited to shoot with all three of them, you know, because you have a respect for all of them for everything they've done and what they continue to do. What was I know you were in the middle of watching Shameless, which is Jeremy's show. When I told you, oh yeah, Jeremy's going to be in that in the movie with you, and I know you got super excited. How did you feel shooting with these people that you knew off camera, not off camera, not from that you didn't know off camera?
Right,
you know?
right. Well, for me, it's funny because I'd watched all three of those actors kind of growing up. I'd watched Ashley, obviously in Pretty Little Liars, and I was a big fan. And then I started watching Shameless when I was pretty young, you know, and I just have watched every season since. And, you know, Ashley and Jeremy, those two always stood out to me in the shows as being like really good at what they do and really bringing something interesting. And same with Shiloh. I'd seen a few of his movies as well. And I was, you know, and I'd known Shiloh before and I'd known Ashley a little bit, but essentially it was really amazing and kind of surreal for me. And it kind of was like, okay, you know, like I'm acting with these people that I'd been watching, and it is a really cool and surreal little moment, you know, and also a big moment for me because I had a lot of respect and admiration for the work that all those guys do and have done. And so it was great. And it was, you know, it was challenging in a good way. I was like, okay, I gotta deliver because I know how good all of these people are and how much experience they have. You know, and so it was cool and so fun. Yeah, that was great.
And Ewan, you knew Lorraine Bracco before we shot, right?
Yeah, we'd met somewhere nearby here. Yeah, we had met before. Yeah, but it was nice to work with her, and that was an amazing scene.
That was so fun.
Yeah, brilliant.
That was fun. And Shiloh, our lead, you know, I know when he shot with you, he respects you and has always looked up to you in the films you shot. And he was and David, who plays young Gio.
Yeah.
So
both those guys after, you know, working with you, and they were just like, David flew in he was studying at the conservatory in London, wherever it was, I'm not sure, some acting thing, and he flew all the way in. And I know that when he originally decided to do it, you know, David, he was given the advice because of you, and they're saying like if you're playing in a tennis match and you get to play one of the best tennis players, you go because you're going to learn so much and you're going to like, you know, do it. So that's what they said about. That was the advice was given to him.
He's probably seen me play tennis. That's what it is.
Yeah. So he liked the script, he liked all that, but he had to leave school, and he was like, you know, I got to take this opportunity to go work with you know, you and Shiloh, and you know, but your experience with them, you know, younger especially David, it seems, you know, you guys really went toe to toe. It was great. Yeah. It was cool to see you guys work off each other, you know.
I just love that about what we do is that there's no experience is experience, you know, and but the responsibility in front of the camera is the same. It doesn't matter if you've been doing it for 30
Oh,
years,
that's great.
if it's your third film or your first film. Still, I love that about it. You know, I love that about when you're working. You know, I've been lucky enough to work with some little kids, and I did a film. I'm thinking of, I did a film called The Island, and I had like 3 boys in that film, and the youngest one was 5 or 6, but he was so good, so good. But it doesn't really matter, you know. I was thinking, what does he think he's doing? You know, as a 5, 6-year-old, what do you think about acting at that age? I don't know, but the responsibility is the same, and I never think very much about you know, like that people are on different levels or anything, because we're not on set. Everyone's on the same level. You just have to be, you know, finding the scenes together, and I love that. I love working with other actors, and it was great working with Diomedes. It was just great.
That's great.
I was impressed with him as with everyone else, you know.
What do you got coming up that you're excited about?
I think we have to do the priest spin-off, you know.
The priest spin-off.
Quite enough.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The priest and the baker, you know,
Give away all the ideas.
Hey, Ewan, did you finish shooting the series you were working on, or did this Corona thing cut it?
Yeah, we got shut down. I think I was shooting, I was playing Halston, the fashion designer Halston, and we were shooting in New York City. When did we start? Oh God, now I can't even remember the months, and the days have disappeared. But I think we had about 3.5, 4 months shoot, and we did less than half of it. So we're now just waiting to go back. I'm not sure with New York, you know, being sort of the epicenter in the United States. I'm not quite sure when we will go back to work. But for me, it's the only important thing is to go back when it's right, you know, and not to. Of course. I'm not concerned about. I'm lucky, you know, that I can not worry about it, if you like. But I think the most important thing is that we go back when it's safe to do so, and we don't
absolutely
risk, you know, infecting other people, and especially on a film set, it's going to be very difficult to know how that can be safe until you've got real proper testing anyway, you know. I don't really know how we would do it. I mean, I can imagine a scenario where you'd have to go somewhere and everybody stay in a hotel and go on the same buses to work, and, you know, it'd have to be like sealed. You'd have to seal it off.
Yeah.
I know. I can't imagine it.
Extra intense movie making.
Yeah. But otherwise, I don't really know how. You just imagine a film set. So many different people, so many different walks of life.
I know.
In and out, you know, hundreds of people arriving into one place and then spreading out back to their homes at night. I mean, it would be very difficult to make that safe. So we'll see what happens. All I can say is I was enjoying it very much. Again, working with some brilliant actors, and Dan Minahan was directing, who I really, really, really like and respect. And I think we were doing some interesting, and Halston, who I've just grown to love and respect for all his creative genius, and he's just a fascinating character, you know. And I learned a little bit about the fashion world, which I haven't really.
You're sewing now.
I've been making some clothes and
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Clara, you had your movie ready to premiere at the Miami Film Festival, and then the day that it was supposed to premiere is the day that everything got shut down in Florida.
I know, it was the same because we all flew out. We were there. Jimmy, you were there with me, and it was great. And we were out the night before. There was some screenings. There was a few, you know, parties or whatever. And we were like, okay, you know, if it was going to be canceled, you know, we didn't know yet. And day of, a few hours before, they pulled it. But you know, they had to at the festival shut down, and obviously we've come to see why and how important that was. But yeah, it was a shame that we didn't get to share Rifa with the world, but we did get to see it in a very small, just with the cast and crew, and I was so happy about the movie. And you know, it's such an emotional, true story about Israel Hernandez, who was tased to death by Miami PD in 2013 for graffiti art, for painting a mural. And he was 18 and he immigrated from Colombia with his parents on an asylum visa because it was too dangerous there. And it was, you know, police brutality in America, and that killed him. And so what was kind of crazy is while we were shooting it, anytime we were shooting the scenes with our actor cops, the Miami PD was actually shutting us down. Illegally, we had permits to the point where we ended up having to get a cop to come stay in a car to stop other cops from shutting us down. I mean, it was so
That's crazy.
And I think it's because the cop who killed him was promoted to be a detective. He's now a detective in the Miami PD, and he still is to this day. So he was definitely probably not thrilled that that was coming out. But I'm so glad that we've told this story, and in such a great way, with our brilliant director Jessica and Tyler, who was also in The Birthday Cake, Tyler Dean Flores, who was, you know, who played Israel Hernandez. I played his girlfriend, and we got to, you know, really shooting on location in Miami in some incredible places, you know, that aren't South Beach and that aren't fancy, but they're so cool, and the art all over the walls. And Wynwood is one amazing place we spent a lot of time in, and really seeing the culture of that is Miami, and that's so unique to there because of all of the Latino influence. And it was amazing. I learned a lot, and it was an incredible cast, an incredible crew, and I, you know, couldn't have asked for a better experience as my first feature film. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys. And yeah, you can just follow Rifa Movie on Instagram, and we'll keep you posted on what's going to happen with that. And, you know, we're working on getting it out there. So yeah.
Soon. I saw it. It's great. I can't wait for people to see it. I can't wait. I like your Val Kilmer shirt.
Yeah, I thought, you know, I'd represent today. Cool as ice. It says on the bottom. It was amazing. We got Val in the film. That was such an incredible treat. And watching, you know, Jimmy edit it and having seen it, you know, a few times now, it's so epic. He's incredible. So that was amazing.
So I want to ask you guys one more question, and I'll let you guys go. Is there a role that you want to play, like a dream role, each of you? You know, is there something that you always say, I want to do that? Like, you know, maybe somebody will say, I always wanted to be James Bond, or I always wanted to play this artist. Is there something that, I mean, Clara, we can start with you.
For me, it's I don't know. It can be broad, but I remember reading this book about Hedy Lamarr, who was this golden age actress from Vienna, who started in, you know, she was in Vienna. She was married to this big rich arms dealer there, and was kind of living in this golden palace, as she would call it. She wanted to act and dance and perform, but she wasn't allowed, and she was just stuck with this man, and she ended up escaping in the middle of the night, you know, super crazy, and made it to America and became this huge, you know, she was gorgeous and she was a great actress, and she became a huge star. And what's so fascinating about her is I think it was during World War I, she became an inventor, and she is an inventor, and she invented this key part of technology which we actually now use in Bluetooth and in phones and internet. But that originally she invented it to detect when the Germans, if the Germans were going to attack, and detect their air, whatever it was some kind of radar detection thing. I don't know exact science. And she had to, you know, she had to work with a man in order to be taken seriously. But the technology she invented is still being used today. And I love stories like that about women who you know, have done such incredible things, but society really only ever saw them as one thing, as just a beautiful woman who could look good in front of a camera, but she was so much more. And so I would love to play her, you know, that would be incredible. But just stories about women like that, you know, and especially, just stories about women that for some reason are still surprising to society, but shouldn't be. But we should be telling those stories, and not just the stories I don't know.
The
That's
Hedy Lamarr story would be really cool. That'd be great.
no, I know. Got to try and get the rights.
What about you, Ewan?
I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really know. I don't have like a. I'm not that. I'm not massively into telling stories of real people. Like the one that I think about would be. I don't really know. I
I feel like you'd want to play like some guy who's building sailboats and goes on a sail expedition.
I'd like to just be a guy who
I
goes
know.
sailboats. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to. I'd just rather be him than.
Well, what if those like great old stories?
I did love the story. The film was made. In fact, there was a story about Donald Crowhurst, who was a sailor. Not an amazing sailor, just a weekend sailor. And in 1968 or 69, in Britain, there was a challenge set. I think that America was putting men on the moon, and Britain wanted some hero stories. So they set this challenge, the first round the world non-stop solo yacht race, and it still happens to this very day. But 9 sailors set off. Some from France, Marseille, I think, a certain date. Anyway, Crowhurst set off, and he wasn't ready. His boat wasn't ready. He wasn't really up for it. But he had put all of his whole life into this, building this trimaran boat. And he had 4 kids. He was married. He had 4 kids, he had invented some kind of handheld radar device for sailing. But it didn't really. He wasn't up to much. But he just dreamed of being a hero. He had dreamt of it, and he wanted to have that life. So he set off, and as he was going down the Atlantic, going down further and further south, he realized that he wasn't going to make it. If he carried on further south into the high seas, into the roaring 40s, he was going to die, and he knew it. So, but yet, if he turned around and gave up, he was going to destroy his family's life, because he'd invested all their house, but everything was invested in this boat. So he realized there was a third choice. It was either go to die, go back and ruin his family, or cheat. And so what he did was he went down to America, just went around in circles for years, for months, while everyone else went around the world. And of course, there was no GPS, and no one knew. And it was an amazing story. There's a great documentary about it called "It's Deep Water" or "Open Water" or something water. Anyway, Donald Crowhurst was the name of the sailor. And it was an amazing, and I did a lot of research. I wanted to play him, and I wanted to direct that film. And I found out that the rights were already taken, and I believe the film was made already, which I haven't seen sadly. But that somebody like that, or
like
a
man
mountain
in a little house in a mountain in Scotland who just sculpts.
I just want to be him
I
too.
know,
Yeah. I do like stories about. I do love adventure, and I find that, it's quite difficult now to get. Where is adventure anymore?
You should get in on this Elon Musk movie where they're just gonna do use all this crazy technology and go to space. The movie. I mean, that sounds pretty adventurous. And real,
okay. I'll speak to my agent. Sounds
Yeah,
good. Yeah, get me in there.
Yeah, go get you in there.
I think that adventure is. I love reading old adventure books from the turn of the, from the late 1800s and stuff, because adventure was really, real then. And now there's very few places in the world that haven't been discovered, or things that haven't been done. Or I watched a YouTube video of a guy called Ed Pratt that was the first guy to unicycle around the world, and I can't get enough of him right now.
He has a unicycle.
I do
really
a little bit, but this guy's great. He's a lovely kid. He set off when he was 19. Took 3.5 years to unicycle around the world.
And he did it
on a big 36-inch wheel. And
recently?
I think maybe 2014.
And we're carrying a backpack.
No, it's all, he managed to he carries his stuff under the saddle. But and he's a nice kid. He's nice. There's something really nice and pleasant. Ed Pratt. You should look up his YouTube channel and watch his.
What's his name?
Ed Pratt. And you can do Ed Pratt unicycle around the world unicycle. And he does it he's doing it for this charity called Schools in a Bag, which is a charity that sends backpacks to they fill them up with, you know, jotters and pencils and pens and rulers and stuff, and they send them to kids that need them, you know, around the world. So he's doing it for a nice charity, and he's got a nice way about him in his movie, and he shot it in his own. And by the end of it, he's using drones, and he's got a camera on his helmet, like one of those crazy 360 cameras, and quite interesting.
That's amazing.
Well, I'm too old to play him now because I'm like twice his age.
More
than twice his age, actually.
his dad.
Use that
I'm
technology.
older than his dad as well.
We'll use that Irishman technology. Well, I know something that you value, and going back to like the beginning of even our movie, like something that you value is, which we all